So what is up, guys? You got your boy Stingren here today, and today we are back with some reverse 1999 content, and today we are going to be talking about what teams you can run with Argus. We did pull her earlier today, so I wanted to go ahead and get that video out for you guys to just kind of talk about some example teams that she can be ran with in general content, and just give you guys some full-on recommendations as to why the teams work, the synergy purposes, and all that good stuff like we usually do. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's talk about some teams for Argus. Alright, so the first team we have here today is a general all-purpose team built around Marcus. Now Argus is actually a pretty nice buff for Marcus because they do work really well for each other. If you guys don't know, Argus's whole entire gimmick is she has a special follow-up base attack that's based off of the number of stars that's cast in the AP field before the turn goes on. As you can see here, at 7+ ranks you get a 3-star cast, at 5 to 6 ranks total you get a 2-star cast, and at 3 to 4 stars total you get a rank 1 cast of her Gravedigger effect. And this is a special follow attack that grants a myriad of effects for Argus herself. Specifically, you really want to aim to be around the 5 to 6 range because you get Moxie +1. So even if you don't have to take a turn to do nothing with Argus herself, well, you can still get Moxie +1, which is actually really good. Combined with the fact that she does have built-in Empower Incantation for her own skill, so even the next time she rolls into her own cards, she can get a +2 on her card, which is actually really good to help maintain pinpoint stacks. To get the stacks a little bit higher, because as you can see, you can get 5 stacks of pinpoint just off a 2-star cast, and you can get 10 stacks off a 3-star cast. You can get another additional 5 off pinpointing, because this is going to be the other synergy that's going to go right into Isolde, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But the whole core is, since Marcus is kind of one of the easiest units in the game to kind of accumulate a lot of high tier cards because of her own unique inheritance effect, where she can consume her own stacks of Eureka to basically rank up her own cards at will, which is really good. So basically, if she has 4 Eureka, she's ranking up 2 of her cards, because you need 2 Eureka for a rank 1, rank 2. But if you want to go to rank 2, rank 3, I think you need 3 Eureka total. So for most times, you are going to just see the 1, 2, the rank 1 to 2 type of upgrade, which is going to be really good. The really good thing here is that basically that guarantees you a 2-star cast basically almost every time if you use the upgraded skill. So you use 2-star skill with Marcus, and then you follow up with whatever 4 skills of the other characters that you like. So you can do heal with Vila, pinpoint debuff, and debuff with Isolde, right? That's effectively counting this as a total of 5, which means you will always get the 2-star cast, which means Argus will always get Moxie +1 for herself. And that's really good, because that means you can really do good with keeping up the pinpointed stacks, because they're kind of similarly to how Windsong's buff works, where each stack is individually timed. So of course you want to continuously keep reapplying more and more stacks, because they will fall off by a lot. For example, if you use a 2-star cast, that means when these 3 rounds is up, 5 of those stacks are just gone. And that's kind of the whole core concept of why we also want Isolde. The whole point of Argus and Isolde being in the team together is going to be because they both can stack critical defense down together. If you guys don't know, since Pinpointed is a unique debuff, and this is what it does here, Pinpointed does do the following, which gives 15% damage taken reduction, 15% critical damage defense, critical damage defense down, and it's going to be an additional 2% more for each stat, for each stack of pinpointed, for a maximum of 15. So basically, this is effectively 45% decrease and 15. This is a 45% decrease in damage taken reduction and critical defense down. With Isolde on our team, we can actively turn this into a 95% critical damage down reduction, which is absolutely crazy. Getting an enemy at literally no critical defense absolutely sounds insane. So that's the whole point of why Isolde is there. She's kind of one of the strongest critical defense down units that we have. There are still other options units who can debuff critical defense down, like 6 for example has it on a random debuff, and that does kind of help, but you want the strongest option, which will be Isolde. And of course, Vila is going to be here as our sustain, our healer. And of course, she's going to be our big buffer as well for Marcus so she can deal damage. Because remember, Marcus isn't going to be dealing the highest form of damage if she's not critting. And since we do have Vila who's going to be buffing her, who gets stronger buffs because she is a mental damaging character, that's definitely something that you can just run there. So it's a really good simple core team. It's kind of just a slapshot team I just kind of threw together that should just work in pretty much all forms of content. This is easily a good team that you could take for things like raid. The problem with raid though is it really just depends on the raid that you take it on. For example, you know how some raids hit very hard. This is going to be one of those situations where Argus may have to sit out, and I'll talk about this more so later on in a different video, because there's a lot to actually talk about Argus when it comes to how she acts as a character and like team placements and stuff. But the big reason that she's gonna sit out, because you're gonna want another sustain 9 times out of 10, which of course, if you have Kakania, she's easily the best shoe-in you could put in for another sustain with a healer. So I mean, yeah, but other than that, in general, most form content and some of the more lesser hard-hitting raids, then this is definitely a team that you can easily take, that can easily get you to where you need to be, and you can reach some pretty decent scores with it. Alright, and that's going to be the first team. So that's going to be the first team, what it looks like right there. These are all the options right here. You don't necessarily have to copy the same cube choices. I've seen a lot of people comment that and say, do I have to have the same cubes? Not necessarily, but here is the team. Alright guys, we are back now with the next team here today. This is going to be pretty much the same exact team. This is obviously just a team that favors more single target as opposed to AoE, because you know Marcus is a little bit more AoE focused. But this is just obviously using the strongest single target burster in the game, being Windsong. Now you don't necessarily have to use Windsong, and you don't also have to specifically use this team for single target content at all. I think this is just one of those teams that does work with her because of what the team is trying to do. So let's go ahead and break down the team. So obviously we already talked a little bit about what Argus is trying to do, which is putting up those high stacks that pinpoint it so we can reach the 45% damage taken reduction and 45% critical defense down. So why do these two other units matter? Well, we always know Vila is going to always be a staple healer for literally any team going forward. But of course, if you don't have Vila, run to Fairy. That's always going to be my suggestion. I've seen people comment that before, like, well, if I don't have Vila, just run to Fairy. It's completely fine. I mean, it is a bit of a power loss because of, you know, the 20% crit rate. Well, since you're running mental, it's 30% crit rate, 40% crit damage, and then the modifier buff. But at the same time, if you don't have, you just have to use what you have, so to speak. Anyway, let's go and talk about it. So we run Vila obviously for the very same reason: strong healer, crit rate, crit damage buffer, modifier buffer. And we're going to be running Mercuria. Mercuria is actually a pretty good unit to run with Argus, and this is because of her ultimate. Now, one of the things I talked about with her ultimate is that her ultimate is pretty much a worse Empower Incantation. I said this in one of my videos, and the big reason why is because you don't get the additive effects of the Empower Incantation. For example, you go to rank 1, rank 2, you don't get the extra effects that come with the card. For example, in Vila's case, you wouldn't be able to get the stack of Power Burst that you would normally cast on her buffing song because it's not a full considered 2-star incantation. However, in Argus's case, while this is also still something that could have helped her out, which, you know, her being able to cast 2-star for skills, which means 5 stacks that pinpointed or always in an Empower Incantation state while the ult is active, and just only needing just a 1-star tier card is actually pretty great. But you can still use the rank up effect to meet the condition to actually deal some pretty decent sub DPSing. So the really cool thing about this is that since rank up still considers your tiers as a higher level, it's very much easier to get this higher level so you can get the extra modifier, which is basically double the modifier and Moxie +1, and it's always a crit. So that's gonna be something that's really good, especially if you're an advantage. This can kind of turn Argus into a little bit of a sub DPS in a way, because 200 isn't nothing to scoff at, but if you're able to consistently get 3-star casts with Merc's ult being active, it allows her to actually put up a little bit of numbers, and that's, you know, that's something that she should be actually be proud about. She doesn't have like super low stats or anything, so it's not like she can't be considered as a sub, but she can at least do something as opposed to any other team where her damage won't be as high and she can at least actively poke at something while Mark's field is active. Another thing I wanted to talk about too, with Vila I didn't mention in the first team, but her special incantation that comes up when she's in her special state, it does not count towards the value of the 3-star cast of the card. So make sure you keep that in mind as well. I've seen that happen a few times as well. But again, you don't necessarily have to use one song for this team to kind of be cohesive. You can literally use whatever you want here, because these synergy units or these supports run with anybody. Crit rate buffer, crit rate buffer, and then you have someone who wants to be able to debuff single target content or just the main boss of the content. So these three can pretty much be thrown into most DPS positions comfortably, and they can run feasibly well off to each other. So for example, you want to run her with Lucy, go right ahead. You want to run her with Juice, Spoth, Melania, 37, well not 37, Marcus, and so on and so forth, go right ahead. If you want to run those options as opposed to not running one song, that's totally fine. It's just, I'm really just more so presenting this team in a situation as it's a single target focused team. That's really just it. I just really wanted to focus it more so on single target, and that's really just it. It was nothing really in particularly specific that it had to be right here. Like, I feel like mostly everyone here is very worth putting in the team for. So that's going to be it. And then I have one more fun little team, and I can show you guys in the next team. Alright, so now we're going to get back to the fun team here. This is a team that I just really wanted to kind of mess around with, and it's a team that's kind of more so just focusing on the lower tiers, like 5 stars, 6 stars, kind of not necessarily free to play ish, but it's still within the realm of higher possibility because you're more likely to get 5 stars. So kind of pseudo free to play team here. So anyway, let's talk about what this team is about. So for DPS, literally doesn't matter. You can use whatever DPS you want. I just put Charlie here because he's one of the stronger 5-star DPSs that we have. But if you want to use someone else, that's totally fine. If you want to even use a 6-star DPS, that is again totally fine. Let's talk about the other units though. So Yensei is really good for her flow effect. If you guys don't know, she has a special effect built in that's called flow, and she can gain Moxie or Empower Incantation for up to 3 stacks. This is basically her putting herself in Empower Incantation, which means she can, of course, help Argus reach higher tiers off her follow-up, which is what we want. We want 5 to 6 stars off our selected incantations, as many chances as we can get. That's really just the best part about playing Argus, is you can really just get that Moxie +1 or even +2 in that turn by just keeping the tier levels high enough, which of course Yensei does do a really good job at. She's also a really solid healer, even at 5-star. I've said this many times where I do think that Yensei is genuinely the best 5-star healer in the game. She also has a really strong shield she can put up with ultimate, which is also something that does help. Now we're going to also talk about Barbara. Barbara's actually a really interesting option because Barbara has a special built-in effect with their ultimate. So what Barbara does is they put up a shield with everyone, which of course it does bump with Yensei, but if you know how to manage your shields, for example, you just use the stronger shield first as opposed to the weaker shield, which means you wait on Barbara's buff and you can use Yensei's first if you'd like to, or you use one when it gets low, just replenish with the other type thing, so it won't necessarily be a problem. But the real reason why I recommend it is because Barbara has this really cool effect that allows her to rank up 1 incantation and rank down 1 incantation. So let's just say I use this skill right here, right? I use this 2-star cast of the shotgun shower, and then I use a 1-star cast of penetrating eye, right? We're just going to use Argus as the example because this is a video about her. This would effectively mean when I put Barbara's special incantation in the middle of it, she's going to then rank this up to a rank 3 and keep this at a rank 1. So that means it's just basically a free rank up of whatever skill you want when she has that effect activated, which is pretty nice because that means you can set up some higher level star effects off of cards while also not having to sacrifice any star levels. Now, a lot of people would think normally, hey, that's kind of bad that your star level goes lower. But if it's already a 1-star cast, then it goes nowhere. It's just still going to be the 1-star. But if you have a 2-star that's in front of that special casting incantation, it becomes a 3-star, which is really good. Which means, again, it's a easier opportunity to get yourself into the 5 to 6 stars. It also makes up for the fact that you have to cast Barba's special incantation too. So it's really good. It's not like Velas where you get a free turn out of it, or you get like a free cast and nothing's going on with it. It does still take up one of your cast points. So that is definitely something that you have to be mindful there for. But that's generally just a team, just in a general nutshell. It's more of a sustained focused team that's really just meant to just allow your DPS to kind of be free and just kind of put out free eats for just doing what they need to do. So again, whatever DPS you really want to run with it, it just makes sure that the team is cohesive enough to survive, and that's really all you really need from there. But anyway, that's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the teams for Argus. I'll be back with her showcase relatively soon. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.